All right, guys, welcome back to the Rick Shiels Golf Show podcast, everybody. Episode 267. Is that right? I've kind of said that, but it's not, is it?
Nope. Keep guessing.
269.
Yes.
You know what?
Is that because you forgot about the two that we did while you weren't here?
I've actually, they're null and void. They never happened. No, I actually enjoyed them. I listened to them. I was like, oh, look at this.
Did you really?
I woke up on the Monday, I think it was the Tuesday that he released the first one. And I had a notification on my phone. It was like, Rick Shiels podcast upload. I was thinking, did I? When did I do that? And I listened. I was like, actually, this is pretty good. I very much enjoyed it. I liked Ed and Matt's cameos. And well done, fellas. I think you did a wonderful job of the podcast while I was away.
The only thing that's concerned me, though, since that is that the kind of attitude that Matt and Ed have since developed. It's they've got ladies flocking themselves, throwing themselves at them. They have started travelling to work in. They've got a Ferrari that they share it. It's a P-Reg, but it's still a Ferrari.
They just sound like you now.
No, mine's actually an R-Reg.
No, they did a great job, and they'll be back on Friday's episode. Certainly Ed will anyway. Matt, we're not sure just yet. We'll see if he's around for the Friday episode. But yeah, I've been on holiday. I've had 2 weeks away, and I'll be honest, I needed it. I felt like I wanted a bit of a getaway. But it was how can I put this nicely? A disaster of a holiday.
Wow. Disaster's a big word.
Disaster. I've just realised trying to holiday in the UK in the summer is very unpredictable. Correct. Very, very, very unpredictable. And trying to do 2 weeks in the UK for summer holidays with 3 children and my wonderful wife was certainly a challenge. But we had a lovely time to some degree. But it was the weather dictates what you can do a little bit more than if you're just on a nice sunny beach.
The thing is, like you said, we've got in the UK some absolutely amazing places. The Lake District, you've got obviously down in Cornwall, you've got Scotland, all these amazing, the list goes on and on and on. And I'm sure obviously our UK listeners and viewers get this. Maybe Americans don't as much. We don't have 4 seasons that are set in stone, do we?
Never.
We have what we call summer, but this year in particular, we've had a handful of days we've had sun. There's never been a day where you think, right, tomorrow I'm definitely playing golf and it will be sunny.
No, there's no way guaranteeing it. No. We had over 2 weeks away, we had one day, which ironically was our last day, which was perfect. I mean, if every single day was like that, first off, the UK, nobody ever leave the UK because it is absolutely gorgeous when the sun is out. But unfortunately, for 14 days away, just to have one sunny day was a little bit disappointing. But I was also kind of semi-working a little bit as well because I actually went up to, my whole trip away was up in Scotland, one of my favourite places in the world, not only because of golf, but history, heritage, the people, the food, the atmosphere. And as much as I'm off the drink completely. I can't remember how many weeks I've gone now, but quite a long time now, over nearly 3 months of not drinking.
Wow.
And I continued that over my little holiday away. I substituted it for plenty food.
Talk to me.
Ice cream. I've become addicted to the thing.
One a day?
Like a tub a day. Like, I'm honestly.
Well, like the size of like kind
a
of
Ben &
Coke
Jerry's.
Deep, yeah, almost, and then a bit wider.
Maybe share it with the wife, but yeah, I've become an ice. I've
Cookie
substituted Guinness and beer and whiskey for tubs of ice cream.
I've just got visions now of you having a Ben & Jerry's, put it in the microwave for like 30-40 seconds so it becomes more like a milk and just down in it.
Imagine.
Can I have another one then, please, love?
Top me up.
Rick, you've had one too many. That's your 4th cookie dough of the day.
Instead of getting drunk, you get brain freeze. You wake up, God, I'm brain freeze today. But yeah, it was, we spent a couple of days in Edinburgh to kick things off. And I didn't realise the Fringe Festival was on. So it was packed in Edinburgh. Loads of things going on. Again, the weather was
could have done a live podcast on tour.
Could have done.
I could have joined you and your family. Stay in the spare room. Uncle Guy's here. What's that weird man doing, Dad, in the spare room?
Why has he got a microphone and headphones? But yeah, we did a couple of days in Edinburgh, which was fun. And then I had a work commitment. I was over at the AIG Women's Open at St. Andrews, and it's always a pleasure taking the kids and my family to St Andrews. Last time they were there was when I completed the walk 150 from Troon to St Andrews. And I've got to be honest, we had a really nice time in St Andrews. There is, you know, as well as I do, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners who have had the privilege of going to St Andrews, it's just a really special place.
Yeah.
And certainly when there's a golf event on, everywhere is just full of golfers, and it's just a lovely experience. And to have the AIG Women's Open there, I felt like it was just a really, what's the right word? Because last time I was there for a tournament was obviously the Open, which was the 150th, and it was so busy. To have the AIG Women's Open there in 2024, and the crowd's nowhere near as big, but just there's still the same kind of fuzzy feeling I get inside that a real major tournament is taking place at the home of golf. Stayed up at the Fairmont Hotel, which was a lovely, lovely hotel. Thanks to the guys looking after me there. But yeah, I went to the Ladies Open. A huge congratulations to Lydia Ko. What a dominating performance and what a year she's had. After winning the gold medal in Paris, she then comes on a few weeks later and wins the AIG Women's Open. And it's funny because we were watching it a little bit, and I took the kids. It was they've been to a handful of golf events, but not many. They really, really enjoyed it there. And we watched the highlights of the Sunday, because we didn't actually go on the Sunday. We watched Lydia Ko come in and finish in such incredible style. And my wife said, "How old is Lydia?" And I was like, "I feel like she's been around for a long time."
Yeah.
And I can't actually remember now. I did Google it at the time, but she's still young in her career. Like, she feels like she's accomplished so much.
She's 27.
Like, crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
27 years old. And it almost feels like she's been around as long as Tiger Woods has been around in my head, but she's obviously not been. But I think she played one of her first professional tournaments at the age of 14.
Yeah.
So it just feels like she's just been on the scene for a long time.
She won an LPGA Tour event at the age of 15.
I mean, that's just bonkers. So 12 years ago, like, same time as really I started my YouTube journey. That's probably why it feels so long ago. And yeah, but it was really good. The kids absolutely loved it. They love spending time in the festival village. I've got to say, if you want to take your family and wife and young kids to a golf event, I cannot recommend the AIG Women's Open more. It's a really, really nice event, because you know what it's like at the Open. I know you've taken your little girl to the one in shown little at the time. I wouldn't massively, what's the right word? I feel comfortable, but I feel like at an Open, the kids could almost get a little bit overwhelmed by the amount of people that are there. And I feel like they would want to do challenges and games that are set up in you know, the fan village, but they just would never be able to get a chance to do so. At the Women's Open, the kids got loads of chance to play mini golf, hit shots in a simulator, play foot golf, they played golf on Roblox, on the iPads. It was just a really nice family feel. And again, similar like the Open, if you went in the fan zone, let's be honest, it can get quite rowdy, can't it? You know, there's a lot of people in the tented village having a lot of drinks that day, and it can get quite rowdy. That's not the case at the AIG Women's Open. It just felt much more of a family event.
Just you in the corner, ice creaming.
Just me, just tanning ice creams left, right and centre.
The only thing, I watched bits of it, I must admit, I was quite excited to watch it, partly because it's obviously a women's major, also it been at the home of golf. The only thing, as much as I was really happy that Lydia Ko won, I would have loved Lilia Vu to get in the playoff. Obviously on 18, she hit this amazing drive.
Such a great shot.
And then she just had that kind of awkward pitch over the Valley of Sin, and inevitably kind of hit it a bit hard to avoid the Valley of Sin.
Then three-stabbed it.
Yeah, and it was just kind of never really going to be enough.
There was one shot that Lydia Ko, because for about 5 or 10 minutes, the heavens absolutely opened and it tipped it down like torrential, horrendous rain. And Lydia Ko was on the 17th hole, the hardest hole in the golf course, and she had a second shot into that green, and literally you could hardly see her because the rain. Sorry if this is a bit old news. I know this is 2 weeks old, but I've obviously been away. But I wanted to talk about it in my experience, and it's literally, it was the worst condition, and she rifles this 5-wood or 3-wood towards the green and gets it on the front edge. And that was the hardest time of the day, and she continued to make par on 17, birdied at 18, and ended up winning by 2 in the end. But yeah, it was great, and it's great to see kind of obviously Nelly Corder there and thereabouts again.
Yeah,
I did think she was going to get the job done. It was great seeing Charlie Hull leading after the first round. I did really tip her to continue playing that well for the rest of the week. Unfortunately, she didn't. But yeah, I
Lottie
honestly,
Wold as well, the amateur.
Oh,
She did
God, how
really
good
well.
was she?
She got the equivalent of the silver medal. She's obviously amazing at golf.
But there's a couple of takeaways. Like, again, in that environment, if you want to get your children into golf, I think in that kind of, whether it was going to if you took the kids to, let's say, because it was the Curtis Cup this weekend, wasn't it, as well, down at Sunningdale, or whether you took the kids to a Rose Ladies Series, or whether you took the kids to just a smaller event. Like, I think taking your kids straight to an Open can be too much. I think once they get a bit more established and play a little bit more golf and have been to a few more golf events, I think the Open's brilliant to go to as well. But yeah, if you want to get your kids in golf, because as soon as we finished that day, I think we went on the Thursday, Friday, did some great interviews with like Mia Baker, Jazzy Golfer, Tish Allen, which were really, really good. Really enjoyed speaking to those ladies on the stage. And then we again stayed at the Fairmont, and the kids were desperate to go and play some golf.
You know what I was just thinking then? Obviously, I think there's a stat, and it might be slightly out of date, but I think around 80% of golf club members are male, and obviously the remaining 20 are female. And you might know as well as I do, I've got a little niece who started playing football. She's 9. And certainly for youngsters now, under the age of like 11, it's almost like 50-50 in schools and sort of football split between girls and boys. And obviously football was always a very male dominated sport, and now it seems to be changing and evolving, and who knows in 10-15 years time whether the female game will be as big as the men's. And obviously tennis is very split. Certainly when the Wimbledon's on, there's as much story around the female champion as male. I think from a golf viewing perspective, and obviously clearly from participation, women's golf isn't as big as the men's game. And I wonder why that is, because obviously, and wrongly so, some sports which are more macho have a more male dominance. Example with boxing. But then equally, MMA, the women's is huge. I wonder how we can, and how the game of golf does get more younger girls into golf, because it is a sport that I can't really think of barriers to participation why girls shouldn't enjoy it as much as boys.
I think that there was a couple of takeaways, again, from what I was experiencing. I think my girls, certainly their age right now, they're 10 and 8. They were fascinated by the characters. And what I mean by that was the fashion was a huge element to who they enjoyed watching. Like, I know Adidas had a big collaboration with JL, who is Jay Lindenberg's daughter, who has now set up a new company called JL, spelled differently. They did a collaboration with Adidas, which was highly publicized pretty much the whole event. And my 2 girls loved the fashion that like Mia Baker was rocking, and Lynn Grant, who was dressed in such cool style. Like, my girls were walking away with like headbands on, and they, like, the first day we went, I don't have a lot of golf clothes for my young girls because they're not really into it just yet. So we went on the Thursday in just their normal kind of clothing that we'd put them in, warm clothing, because it was quite wet and windy. On the second day, like, my eldest daughter wanted to dress like a golfer. And on the Friday, she was dressed much more like a golfer because she'd taken inspiration from that day. And I think that's just, it just shows how maybe boys and girls do get into sports a little bit differently. And I'm not saying that's for everybody. That's quite a stereotypical view on that, and that's not.
It is, but equally, how many little boys wear football kits?
Well, how many little boys, and certainly I know growing up, like, I had 2 diamond earrings because David Beckham had them. Like, how many kids now do you see little boys walking around with Jack Grealish type hairstyles, etc.? So as much it might not be the fashion, it's certainly the hairstyles and the way that where golf has that luxury that golfers can express their fashion interests, etc. out the golf course.
One thing I noticed again, and it does sound, well, it doesn't sound stereotypical, it's a fact. I noticed that the women do seem to have more accessories and stuff, and those the things that we've got on the big headphones, but like the big ear defender things, the woolly ones, and like obviously, and like maybe it's jewelry or makeup, or they certainly do seem to embrace that more.
Well, you also saw that through the Olympics.
The sprinters and stuff.
They were almost, to some degree, looking like they were ready for a night out. And actually, Kelly Hodgkinson, in an interview, Keely Hodgkinson, actually said that afterwards. Like, she gets ready for a race as if she's going on a night out.
Don't you think it's mad when the sprinters have massive necklaces on?
Really weird, because surely they're looking for 100% performance and
a tiny marginal gain.
But and the men and women.
Yeah, the men have massive thick chains on.
And watches. Yeah. Some of them wear like massive watches, and you think, for a sport where every 0.1000 of a second matters, they're dressed in this, they're carrying jewelry around with them. Anyway, what I'm trying to get at there, it was the personalities that certainly my two girls became invested in, and just characters. Like say they walked away from the week absolutely loving Mia Baker. They thought she's the best thing since sliced bread, and she's fantastic. She was great with the kids, but like
better than sliced bread.
She looked up to my girls looked up to Mia because they were like, she plays golf, she's cool, she had this like pink fluffy jumper on, and it was like that's you need those characters, don't you?
But I think and exactly that.
And Mia's not a professional golfer.
But that's the point, though, isn't it? That even with sports as well, if you look at golf, is the perfect example of which golfers are popular. Often the best golfer on the planet, i.e. Scotty Scheffler, is popular because they're so good at golf, and people are in awe of their talent and their skill and how they play the game. But equally, often the most popular golfers are the ones who have personality. I know Beef Johnson, I know he played well recently, but like a Beef Johnson caught the hearts of the nation, if you like, because he's charismatic, he was different. You get it a lot of the time, don't you? These people who are a bit more about them, that's what excites people.
Yeah. And it was, again, I was looking at this event through the eyes of being a parent and somebody who works in golf and someone who would love my kids to get into golf. Whether they do or don't, I'm not sure, but I would love them to do. And the three ladies they got to spend time with, Mia Baker, Tisha Allen, who is a female US presenter, a social media creator. She's really, really good. I really like Tisha a lot. And Jazzy Golfer, who Jazzy Golfer is there to promote young females getting into the game of golf. She's got a wonderful community, UK golf community, where girls come to driving ranges across the country here in the UK and kind of bond and just a part of a community. And my three girls walked away looking at those three and going, if that's what golf is and that's female golf, I want to get involved in that. Yeah. And also we sat a couple of times on the bean bags and watched the big screen TVs, and like Iona popped up on like, and I was like, oh, Daddy knows that lady. And the girls know that I've spoke to Iona recently on the phone because my little daughter does a really good Scottish accent, weirdly. And so she was speaking to Iona, and she's like, they were watching Iona up on the big screen doing interviews, and they were like, how do I do that, Daddy? And it was just really,
I know a guy.
Yeah, it was just really nice. Like I found it really exciting about whether my girls get into golf, whether they've now maybe identified that they want to show a bit more of their fashion elements, whether they're looking at it and go, I quite like what Iona did on TV there. Like, I don't know. It was just
more than just a game of golf, isn't there?
It was just a really, really nice experience. And I felt like my girls got a lot out of it. My little boy was bored out of his head. He just wanted to play mini golf all the time and play with his trucks and cars. But he's a typical little boy. But basically going on to my story, I took him out on the golf course at Fairmont, and I gave them all a golf ball each. I gave them a marker pen. I said, design whatever you want on the golf ball. So they were drawing little whatever, so they could identify the ball. And we played a little game. I hired some clubs, and I played the golf shots. Each one of their three golf, we only played like 6 holes in a buggy. Played their golf shots to the green, and then let them putt and chip and around the greens and stuff. The bits that I'm crap at, and they just loved it. We're out there for like an hour and a half. There was no stress. It wasn't, I wanted them to fully enjoy it. I didn't want to drop them in the deep end straight away. And it was just, since that, even when we've got back, they're like desperate to get into golf. So I was just really, as a learning experience, and I want to, taking my kind of, my presenter, being a creator hat off and just putting my dad hat on for a second. my experience of taking my kids to the golf, certainly the AIG Wowens Open, was fantastic, and I would highly recommend it. And I was actually looking, one of my first ever golf events was actually the Women's Open.
Really?
Yeah, it was at 1998, and it was at Royal Lytham.
Wow.
And I remember going with my mum, because my mum got me into golf, and I ended up watching, that was my first ever professional event I went to, was the Women's Open at Royal Lytham in 1998.
Full circle.
Crazy, isn't it? After St Andrews and did work there, we had a week in Isle of Arran.
Yeah.
Okay, which is a really cool little island off the west coast of Scotland. You've got to get a ferry across. The ferry crossing was so rough, it was ridiculous. Literally everyone was throwing up, which was a bit horrible. I don't get seasick, thankfully, but pretty much everyone else
you're
was.
hard.
I am hard. Thankfully, because I think if anyone else, honestly, it would have been.
I would have been 100% sick.
It was pretty horrendous. Anyway, there's 7 golf courses on the island, and the last time I went there, I was 12 years old. Probably, maybe this. I think thinking about it, the same year as it was in '98.
Oh my days!
I had a proper nostalgic trip away, didn't I? And I went with my mum, and we went for a week, and the 7 golf courses on the island. We played all 7 days in a week, and loved it. And took my kids over there, and we had a really nice week. The weather again wasn't great, but this, that, and the other. Anyway, beat around the bush. I kept driving past this one particular golf course called Lamlash Golf Course, okay? And every time I drove past it, it's on the main road, it looked in pristine condition. I was like, I'm itching to play golf. I've not played golf for a week and a half. I'm itching to play golf. Didn't have my clubs or anything on me. So dropped in on the Friday and spoke to the starter there, said, I'd love to play golf in the morning. I don't have any clubs. So there was a really kind of oldie worldy kind of little shop, like tiny little shop, probably no bigger than this room that we're in right now. And in the corner there was a couple of like bags, and it just had a tag on it like hire me for a tenner. So because I wanted to tee off really early, I paid there and then. So I paid my £40 green fee,
wow, and
my £10 to hire the golf clubs, and I took the golf clubs away. And I'm thinking to myself, if I actually left the island now, this is the best £50 I've ever spent.
Yeah.
So I've just got a brand.
Is that what those clubs are in the corner?
And so you'll like this. So it's 18 holes.
Yeah.
It's a par 64. Okay.
Talk to me.
I teed off at 6:55.
Yeah.
I was done at 8:57.
Oh wow.
I did it in 2 hours, 2 minutes. I wasn't really counting score, but I was a little bit as well. I thankfully shot in the 60s. And my clubs,
talk me through the what's in the bag.
You'll love this. So apparently these were the clubs from the ex-captain. Okay.
Right, okay.
So kicking things off, I took a few little pictures.
Yeah.
Kicking things off, I had they're all TaylorMade. Everything was TaylorMade. I had an RBZ driver.
Nice.
The green
white
one. The green and white one. In 10.5 degrees regular.
Yep.
Loved it.
Little draw.
I had 3 fairway woods. RBZ Stage 2.
Oh, a bit more yellow on them.
Do you remember that one? That
yeah,
kind
I
of
do.
like head. That head.
I do.
Okay. Iron wise,
I'm going to go rocket blades.
No, older. Did I not take a picture of the irons?
Racks.
Well, this was the face of the irons. I don't think I took a picture of the back of them.
So you got the grooves all the way across the face?
All the way across.
Is that an old burner set then?
I can't believe I'm not taking a picture of the irons. They were the irons.
Yes.
We'll put these in the visual podcast episode. God, what were they called now?
I think they were the burners.
There was something like that. I had a ping.
Oh, with the old ping. Oh, wow. The insert ping on the face. Yeah.
In like 36-inch bloody length. It was the longest putter I've ever used. Oh, there's the irons. They were super steel burner.
Yeah. Remember them.
And then, so I had 3 iron down to sand wedge. And I'd realised when I took the higher bag out, there was 3 golf balls in the bag. Okay. And it was quite a tight golf course. So I played majority of the round with a noodle.
A Max Fly noodle.
Long and soft, which had definitely seen better days.
Yeah.
Wow, I was battered in it. And just before, because I don't know why I did this. When I was in the pro shop the day before, there was a little bucket with golf balls in. And I saw a Strata Tour Professional. With what number on?
1.
If you remember.
Zeros.
Strata was like one of the first brands to actually put 0.
Didn't they do the playing cards as well?
Yeah, aces and diamonds and stuff. So I honestly, that round of golf, made me, and the view, look at the views.
Yeah, it looks
I mean, it was
phenomenal.
absolutely gorgeous. And the golf course was really, really interesting. Even though it was only par 64 and like 4,500 yards, the par fours were quite tough. The par threes, I think there was 3 of them over 200 yards.
My days.
There was one par 3, the 12th hole, which honestly is the hardest par 3 I've ever played in my life. It was like 230 yards up the hill and immediately out of bounds left. Like, it was so hard. It was like, basically, I played as like a par 4. If I play golf like that in that setting for the rest of the life, I'd actually be a happy man. I would, honestly. I loved it. 2 hours to 18 holes. That type of golf course would still keep your game sharp.
Yeah.
Because you're hitting a lot of long irons, like long par 3s. I didn't take the flag out once. I didn't mark my ball once. I didn't really read greens. One of the hardest things to get over was having no rangefinder.
Yeah.
Mate, honestly, it's game changing. I might never use a rangefinder ever again. No, it was just, it proper reminded me. And again, I know I'm walking down this memory lane.
Junior golf.
Yeah. Junior golf.
You find a Pro V1 in the trees next day. I've got a Pro V1. Yes, I've got a Pro V1.
There was one time where I nearly lost my Max Fly noodle. I reckon I searched for 7 minutes for it.
Oh, it's penalty.
I know, but I was on my own. I still got around in 2 hours. Like, I just honestly, absolutely
There's something about that stripping it all the way back. Like you said, it's just you on the golf course. Score really is obviously irrelevant. Even the old clubs as well.
Yeah.
It just,
and they weren't, a 10.5 degree regular driver, totally not what I'd normally use, but I just didn't care.
Yeah.
I just really, really loved it. And it's funny, as I was coming down the last few holes, I was thinking, do I move here? Do I just play here for the rest of my life? Because again, the issue is, I had a beautiful morning for it. Like, it was literally perfect. But the amount of times I was like, but it's not going to be like this. It's going to be windy. It's going to be wet. It's going to be horrible. Yeah. But there was something just so romantic about it. This kind of like idea of just hitting golf shots. I wasn't really thinking.
It's almost like, though, no matter what hobby you have or whatever you get into, there's something, like you said, romantic about stripping it all back. And it's like, obviously, if you go running, for example, I'm similar to you. I'll have an Apple Watch on. I have decent trainers. I'll have special running shorts, do all this stuff. Sorry. And then you go for a run. But then equally, occasionally you'll see like maybe an older person who's got a battered old pair of trainers on, no technology whatsoever, and just pounding the pavement. And it's like, something about that isn't no headphones, nothing. Yeah. And it's like that with golf. Just sometimes stripping it all the way back on the golf course with battered old clubs, it's better.
I left my phone in the bag for 90% of the round. I only took it out to take a few nice pictures because I wanted to remember it. But it was just really, really nice. And because I think I maybe had 3 golf balls in my bag, I didn't, normally if I'd maybe played on my own, if I'd hit a dodgy shot, I'm just going to, let me just play that again or whatever.
Yeah.
I didn't even do that. Now, naturally, because I'm used to counting up my score, I ended up counting up my score, and I wanted to keep forgetting my score. Do you get what I mean? Yeah. I was like, it's not about the score, but the golf in me kept adding up my score. But yeah, honestly, I really, really, really loved it. And I got back in after my 18 holes, and Drew, who was the starter, who I met the day before, kind of was gobsmacked that I'd already played 18. And he ended up saying to me, he said, I believe you're quite well known. It's like, he said, do you make blogs? And I said, oh yeah, I do some YouTube videos. He said, what about it? I said, golf. He went, oh right. He said, when I put your name on the system, I had about 5 members ringing up asking, is it actually you playing?
Oh my days.
But no, it's honestly, I really just loved it. It was such a wonderful experience.
Well,
anyway,
one thing that I loved this last couple of days, and obviously a lot of the listeners, regular listeners anyway, and those who are in the clubhouse will know that you're a massive Man United fan.
We don't talk about this.
You've loved Man United. Certainly over the last couple of years, you've really got back into your football. Well, as people know, I support Liverpool. Liverpool played Man United at the weekend on Sunday, 4 p.m. kickoff. And unfortunately for you, Rick, it was a 3-0... I don't even want devastation to
whitewash.
Liverpool beat Man United. So Ashley Knightley said in the Facebook group, how many times will you mention the football result? So that's just one only nice clean mention that Liverpool absolutely destroyed Man United. You're currently in the process of getting your little boy into football and buying him Man United shirts and forcing it upon him. Does he know the result?
No.
Well, we need to tell him, don't we? He can join the proper red side if he wants to.
My daughter, my middle daughter, who is now fully fledged United fan, which I'm really proud about her. You know, she's definitely my favourite child. She knew we were playing Liverpool, and one of her friends at school, she's only 8, one of her friends at school is a Liverpool fan. And on Sunday night, she asked me, United are playing Liverpool. What was the score? And I said, we lost 3-0. And she went, I don't know if I can go to school tomorrow.
You should. I can't go to work either.
I was going to say, I said, I sympathise with you.
We'd also like to touch on.
We'll be back.
You will. You might avoid relegation, hopefully. That'd be nice for you. Anyway, we also want to touch a little bit on the Tour Championship, which obviously finished at the weekend, and the dominance of Scotty Scheffler, and the Creator Classic, which went ahead last week. Was it last week or this week?
It was last Wednesday.
Last Wednesday, so we'll touch on that. Before that, though, we have got a few really, really exciting videos coming down the line. The first of which is going out tonight, is an incredible video that we were so lucky to film, and you were so lucky to experience, Rick, in that you played 9 holes at one of the most famous golf courses on the planet with so much history, which is Prestwick, the home of the Open Championship. And not only did you play 9 holes at Prestwick, you had a caddy on the bag. And not only did you have a caddy on the bag, you had a major winning caddy on the bag.
Not only did I have a major winning.
Just keep on going. You had the absolute legend in Bones. What's his? I completely forgot his first name. Jim McKay.
Jim McKay. Or Jim Mackay, I think you say it.
Who caddied famously for over 25 years for Phil Mickelson, winning 5 major championships. He also won the 2022 PGA Championship with JT, Justin Thomas. And he packed all that in to caddy for you, Rick, for 9 holes and give you some insight into how to hopefully play better golf and what he looks for on the golf course when he's caddying. What a video that's going to be. Honestly,
such a nice guy. And it's quite a different video. It's quite a little bit geeky. It's very much a conversation. It's almost semi-podcast type of episode where Bones caddies for me for 9 holes, and I'm asking him lots of questions about his career and how to play better golf and how to improve not only my golf, but also the viewers' golf who are watching, things to consider. But the fact he was on the bag for 5 major championships for Phil Mickelson, including the 2004 Masters, 2006 Masters, 2010 Masters, 2005 PGA Championship, 2013 Open Championship, and then finally 6 major that he won was with Justin Thomas in 2002, the PGA Championship. And now he's a huge commentator for... I want to say NBC, but I'm not sure if that's actually... It is NBC, isn't it?
We'll check. Yes, NBC, correct.
That's who we then filmed a TV show. He has a TV show over in America, which we filmed for our crew, our wonderful crew. Matt and Ben actually filmed that video for NBC, which will be coming out very soon, actually, similar time to this video. He's also been part of over 40 PGA Tour victories, and bless him, he had to then caddy for me for 9 holes. But yeah, he was really good fun. I really enjoyed spending time with him. He was just wonderful to be with, and that video is going to go out tonight.
I think what's interesting as well, some people by the time they listen to this might have already seen it or whatever, but if you've not seen it yet and you go on YouTube tonight, tomorrow and see it, honestly, I know we're going to say this, but recommend watching it. It's not some really short, like, clickbaity video of like what can you score. It's very much like you said, it's almost like a podcast. And I'd almost go as far as to say, and this might be a bold shout, you can almost listen to it while you're on a run or something, because it's obviously very visual. Clearly Ricky's playing golf, but so much of the nuggets and the gold isn't really about the golf shots. It's a little bits off, I was going to say off camera, on camera, but kind of off shot, where you kind of say, what about this or what about that, or who did this or whatever. It's really good. On the flip side, we are about to film today after this podcast a video that will hopefully be on YouTube pretty soon, where we have been online and we've actually purchased a fake TaylorMade driver. So this is something we've done before, but a very long time ago. I think it was 2019 or even 2018, I'll have a look in a minute, when we bought a fake TaylorMade M5 and compared it to the genuine TaylorMade M5. And the difference was astounding. And at the very end of the video, the fake one actually broke. Well, we have been on a very popular website that lots of people will know about, certainly during the Euros and the new football season, where people are buying counterfeit football shirts from DHgate. And we picked up what looks to be to the untrained eye, a TaylorMade Qi10 for 150 quid.
Wild.
And we've got it. We don't know, we've not actually tested it yet, so it's super exciting, but we've got it. And in hand to a lot of people, it literally looks almost identical to a genuine Qi10. There's a few telltale giveaways, which I won't spoil too much. We'll save that for the video. But the exciting thing is, it's all well and good having a football shirt that might look like the real one and even feel like the real one. We all know, we're all golf fans listening to this podcast or watching. A fake TaylorMade driver surely cannot and will not perform anything like the real one.
Let's find out. Let's find out when we test it later. In fact, we'll test it later today. So that video will be coming out very, very soon. And like I said, the last time we bought a fake driver, it actually broke on video. So we'll see what happens this time around.
I think that's the thing as well. Like these videos, we obviously were lucky we get to make lots of different types of videos, but these ones that we go into filming, honestly, with no idea what's going to happen, they are up there with the most exciting. Yeah, speaking definitely. Of video, let's talk Creative Classic.
Yes. I was going to go Tour Championship first.
Tour Championship first, by all means.
Really, we'll come on to Creative Classic without a question. And I watched it fully, and I'm going to give my full version of events for that. But the Tour Championship, Scotty Scheffler just dominating as normal. Ends up picking another $25 million up to finish his career at, was it $63 million?
Ridiculous,
now, if you actually break that down, because I find this stat wild. Let me see if was it on PGA. It can't have been PGA Tour that shared it, was it? Someone broke down. Let me just find it very quickly because it is a brilliant stat. I think it'll be someone like Golf Digest would have broke it down. When they broke down how much.
All right,
I've got it. Right. So you ready for this?
Go on.
Season earnings $62,228,357.
Is that literally for this year?
Yeah. That's just on course earnings.
That's incredible.
That's just on course earnings, okay? You ready for this?
Boom.
Per start. Okay. So I don't think he's actually playing a ridiculous amount of tournaments, okay? Per start. 3,275,000. So $3.3 million. So
he's played 20 events essentially.
Yeah. Now, obviously, the 25 million purse that he's just picked up is going to be divvied out throughout the year. Okay. Per round, you ready for this?
Go on.
$829,711.
Yeah.
Per hole.
Mm-hmm.
Per hole.
Yeah.
Okay. $46,000 per shot.
Yeah, divide it by 4, I'm guessing. Roughly.
$12,240 per shot. Every shot that is hit, he's made $12,000.
Wow. I mean, if you look at his season, so this is the season this year and we're obviously going off wins here, but he won the Arnold Palmer at the start of the year in 10th of March. The next week he won the Players' Championship. A couple of weeks later he won the Masters. Then he won the RBC Heritage. And then there was this thing, wasn't it, that he'd never won an event past April. And then he went on to win the Memorial at June the 9th, the Travellers June the 23rd. He then won the Olympic Games in August, and now he's obviously won the Tour Championship to close off the season.
He's also the first player in history to win a major, the Players, and the FedEx in the same year.
Throw in the Olympics as well, just for measure.
Why not?
The only thing I've seen a lot of since, and I kind of had mixed thoughts on this, but was people talking about the actual the format, of the Tour Championship, and I've kind of got mixed feelings because remember, when was the year when Tiger won the actual? What year was that when Tiger won the actual?
I feel
event?
like it was
2019 or 18 when Tiger won. But didn't actually win, obviously, the Order of Merit, essentially. And you kind of have two people with a trophy. 2018. It can be a little bit kind of confusing, I guess.
How could it be improved?
Well,
because did you see Colin Morikawa's tweet?
No, not seeing that.
Brilliant.
He won growth, didn't he?
So, yeah, well, he basically... This is absolutely hilarious. So if the event itself was played without any head start, Colin Morikawa would have ended up winning. Okay, and let me just find his tweet because it's absolutely hilarious. Morikawa. His tweet put, has it not been deleted, has it? He basically said, I remembered to enter the gross event but forgot to enter the net.
Well, I think the good thing, let's go through the good things first. The good thing is that it makes it simple as a golf fan that you look at that leaderboard during that event, and that is essentially the Order of Merit, isn't it? That is the list, and whoever wins, and comes second. And obviously the handicap is done in a sense of saying, well, Scotty Scheffler's had the best season, he has an advantage when he tees off on the first day, and obviously if he keeps that advantage up, then he wins. I think maybe what would be simpler would be, does it go into some sort of match play potentially? Does it where you haven't get seeded? Do you just have two events? You have this big event at the end of the year that's obviously got a lot of money that does massively affect the Tour Championship, but equally Scotty Scheffler could have lost but still won over the season. I don't know.
But what would have made sense if Scotty Scheffler hadn't won this season? Like, what would have made, like, if he wouldn't have won the Tour Championship, surely that doesn't make sense.
Well, if he'd have had just a terrible weekend and just hurt his wrist or something.
That doesn't make sense, does it?
No. That gets confusing.
He almost had to win it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean he was going to win it.
Well, that head start, although it's massive for these guys, it's not a guarantee, is it?
Not at all. So if there was no head start, Scotty Scheffler would have still, bearing in mind, shot 20 under par, but he would have ended up coming third.
Yeah.
Behind Colin Morikawa and Thegala. Thegala would have actually won it without calling that 2-shot penalty on himself.
Wow.
But yeah, I'd like to see the best player that year win the Tour Championship.
And I think, yeah, but I also think as well, I watched bits of it, obviously, but it wasn't an event that you felt you had to watch, even though you could have. It's a weird one. I think they just need to tweak that. I think a lot of people are in the same camp that it needs some level of tweaking, something just to be a little bit different. I don't know what that is, though.
Maybe Scotty Scheffler uses all 14 clubs.
They'll lose a club.
We'll have a think.
We'll sort it.
What about like some mad like YouTube around it? But yeah, listen, Scotty Scheffler. It's one. We'll look back at this year, unless he goes on and betters this year's performance, which would be a hell of a feat. It's arguably one of the greatest PGA Tour years ever. I mean, it's most golfers' dream career, and he's done it in a year.
I think as well as this dominance continues, and there's no sign of it slowing down, even with the competitors he's got, i.e., Xander Schauffele, Rory, Colin Morikawa, etc., he really is starting to knock on that door of, obviously, you can't say Tiger just yet, can you? It's a bit silly because of how long he was so dominant for. But he's certainly starting to come into those kind of conversations, and he's starting to really, you never know with a golfer, do you? Is it going to be a season? Is it going to be a few months? Is it going to be whatever? And then they kind of fall off a little bit. Or, a guy like a David Duval had such promise and then kind of falls off a little bit. And we've seen millions of those people. But this does feel different.
Do you know what I did? Sorry, go on.
No, I was going to say, the only thing then you still have to question is someone like a Rory. I don't think Rory's peak has ever been like this peak of Scotty's, but he's had that longevity since like 2010 or whatever it's been.
But give Scotty time, and imagine if this is the next 10 years.
Even if he steps down a level or two, but carries on.
Do you know what, as well? I wouldn't say I've been critical of Scotty Scheffler. I think just sometimes he looks like he's so robotic and he doesn't make mistakes that's made me not maybe root for him as much as other players. This last week or so, from what I've seen, I've actually fallen in love a little bit more with him. And there's two reasons why. One, he shanked one out of a bunker.
Did.
Okay? Love that.
Yeah.
Love that. I think he did that just for added effect.
Of course he did.
Okay.
What would Rick Shiels do is what he was thinking.
Did you also see his response to someone in the press when they asked him, how did you hit that shank? And he was just, I've never seen Scotty in that way that was just kind of like, what do you describe that humour as? It's almost like blunt, isn't it?
Yeah.
Dry. It's like,
a deadpan.
Well, a golf club has a ferrule, a
Yeah.
hosel, and it's curved, and I hit that part, and I'm like, love that. The other thing, did you actually see a clip of him? He pitched, I can't remember what day it was, first or second day. He hit this shot a little bit long, and he was fuming with himself. He's swearing and all sorts. I'm like, hello. Not that I encourage swearing, because I've mentioned that before, but I was like, yeah, okay. Let's see a bit of this emotion, please, Scotty.
And you think as well, not that any of this is obviously manufactured, but what else has then happened to make him even more of a fan favourite, and almost more stories, obviously giving birth to his first child, well, not giving birth, but having his first child. I don't think he did give birth.
He could have done if he wanted to.
Even he could have done. And, that obviously, anyone that's got children, having that, seeing that relatable side to him as well has obviously massively kind of helped. And then clearly the arrest, which at the time obviously would have been an absolute nightmare for him. But that, has kind of somewhat worked in his favour. He obviously wasn't at fault, from what we believe. And it's got kind of humorous element to it as well. I think all those things together, they have massively put him up as this level now of like, is he? I still wouldn't say he's a household name in the UK. Anyone who's, certainly if you like sport, you'll know who he is. But if you're not massively into sport, there's no way he's nowhere near even a Rory level in the UK, is he? Nowhere near. A couple more years of this though, and surely he will be. He
could quite easily walk around the Trafford Centre here in Manchester and be quite incognito.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Where Rory couldn't, Tiger couldn't. But yeah, we'll see what happens. It's an unbelievable performance, and what a year. We've alluded to it before. The Wednesday, the day before the Tour Championship at the new redesigned Eastlake, there was a new event on the Creator Classic, which hosted, it was 16 YouTubers, online personalities, from a lot of them from America, Peter Finch here from the UK, and they played a live streamed on the PJ Tour's YouTube channel, which right now, as of recordings, I think it's on 1.6 or 1.7 million views. At one point, there was over 100,000 live viewers, which is staggering. Crazy. They played over 8 holes stroke play. The top 4 players then, which were actually... spoiler alert, hopefully you've seen it, was Wesley Bryant, Luke Kwan, Sean Walsh, and Roger Steele. And then those 4 played the last hole at Eastlake as basically a knockout.
I actually love that format. At first, I was not sure, because it's like, well, say if someone's winning by 10, after a silly example, but after 8 holes and they don't win, a little bit like the Tour Championship to a degree. But I think when you go into that event knowing we'll just have to get to 8 holes and have a decent score, I think I quite liked it.
I think to some degree, no one was ever going to get that far ahead.
Well,
really.
No.
Wesley Bryant was 1. I think he was 2 under.
I think so.
When he finished the 8th, and then 3 of the other players were 1 under. Therefore, they got into the playoff. And then in the end, Luke Kwan made a fantastic birdie on the last hole to actually end up shooting 2 under through the 9 holes at Eastlake, which is from what I understand is a very, very difficult golf course. And he double bogeyed the first hole. So he double bogeyed the first and then went on to shoot 2 under par. So he birdied 4 of the next 8 holes to win the first ever Creator Classic at Eastlake. So you had guys like Wesley Bryant, George Bryant, Garrett from Good, Micah Morris, Luke Kwan, Peter Finch, Paige Spiranak,
FP,
Fat Perez, Gabby Golf Girl, Tyler from Dude Perfect, Roger Steele.
Did you mention Brad Dalk? Was it or Dalk?
Brad Dalkey. Who have I missed?
You've got 12 on your fingers. You said there was 16.
4. Come on, Rick. You can do this. I'm trying to not look. I've collapsed. I'm going to have to look.
Oh, there was Buster Jack. I think
Buster Jack, yeah. Oh,
Mason
Matt Butcher.
Matt
Butcher, who got a little bit of stick, actually, because he which I think's unfair. He's like a bit of a trick shot artist, really, really cool guy. I'm really a big fan of him. And he is a left-handed golfer, but on the first tee, he got a right-handed driver, flipped it upside down, and hit a great opening tee shot, to be fair to him. Who have I missed? I'm going to get annoyed with myself if I don't get out all of them. Who did I miss? There's Micah. Should have done my research before this. Anyway, I thought it was a fantastic event. Really, really well put on. Live streaming it. On-course commentary, in-studio commentary. It wasn't perfect. I still think there's room for improvement. I think you could have YouTubers actually doing the commentary. I think that would have been really good to add. But all in all, I thought it was a fantastic event. For those asking, 1 was on holiday. 2, I didn't get invited. So I couldn't have played because a lot of people saying, why are you not playing, Rick? If you chickened out, and basically I didn't get invited. I don't know why. It would have been nice to be invited, just to basically say no because I'm on holiday. But it'd have been nice to be invited. I'm not sure why not, but I didn't do. Either way, I thought it was a great event. I thought the viewing figures, like I say, 1.7 million. I think it shows the power of YouTube golf. I thought the guys who played the tournament played brilliant under that amount of pressure.
Oh, absolutely.
I thought they played really, really good. Loads of birdies being made. I thought that was awesome to see. And I think it's great for YouTube golf. It just shows the power of online personalities gaining 1.7 million. I think if you did this with 16 PGA Tour professionals. If that wasn't Tiger and Rory, you're not getting 1.7 million views. Not a chance in hell.
I think you're right, and it wasn't a great event. I was definitely tuned and interested. I think the only thing sometimes, as much as I want to big up the YouTube creator space and everything.
Amy Chow was one of them as well.
Chow. I think the only thing sometimes you have to take with a pinch of salt, and kind of to your point, and just piggybacking off that a little bit, is that you're right. I would think that if you did this with however many PGA Tour players, it probably wouldn't do as well. But equally, if we did this every single week on YouTube with the golf creators, it would start to very quickly.
It's a once or twice a year event.
So I always just feel a bit like, as much as again I'm massively behind the YouTube creator space, it's the world we live in. I want it to be as popular as possible. Of course I do. I just think it's always a little bit harsh when people compare it to a Live or to a PGA Tour or even DP World Tour, because yes, those guys get nowhere near the numbers, but they're live streamed every single week. But it's only a great thing for golf.
How do you think I would have done?
Being honest, I don't think ability-wise would have been so much the issue, but I think you would have got super nervous, which I would have done as well, obviously.
Yeah, I think I would have.
I don't know. It's one of those where I think the first tee would have been crazy nervous, but actually the crowds weren't crazy, no. Although it was getting live streamed. I suppose the live stream part of it, would you forget? I don't know. Would you just kind of have to play your game? Who knows? Right,
so it was Wesley Bryant, George Bryant, Tyler Toney, Gabby Golfgirl, Paige Spiranak, Brad Dalkey, Garrett Clark, Mason Nutt, Roger Steele, Amy Chow, Sean Walsh, Fat Perez, Micah Morris, Peter Finch, Mac Boucher, Luke Warren.
You did a good rap then.
I actually felt like I did them all anyway. Yeah. I just maybe didn't count.
I think as well, the last thing on that is that
I'd have also, quick one, I'd have actually liked to see him mic'd up.
Yeah,
as well. Sorry,
I think mic'd up, but I think the other last thing as well, not to critique it because it was really, really good, is just that with this thing as a one-off, again, it worked really well. I think the only thing I'd be conscious of, although people seem to be very interested, is that it's very much based on ability, wasn't it, of who wins. It's obviously a gross competition, although there was that bit of a chance element that if you get yourself into the final group, you could win on a one-hole, basic playoff. However, not everybody cares about YouTubers being great at golf, do this. There's obviously a lot of creators there who didn't get to play, i.e. Bob from Bob Does Sports, because, no disrespect, he's nowhere near good enough. So you don't always get the best creators there in terms of popularity because they're not good enough to compete. So what are people bothered about who's the best or not? I don't really know. Some people are clearly bothered, but I think not.
Yeah, I think it would have been nice, again, where I think bringing those YouTube personalities like a Bob from Bob Does Sports into the commentary booth would have been better. But
also if you look at like a good, for example, I know the guys have moved about a bit, but if you look at the kind of who's currently in good, like Matt Sharp, although he's a good player, he's nowhere near as good as Luke. One, no, Luke's since left, but like that doesn't mean that Luke is a more valuable member or Matt's not, does it? Or Bubby or something.
Yeah, I suppose like it's not a popularity contest,
exactly.
Is it?
And also again, FP Fat Perez is super popular and rightly so, but he is probably on par with Bob in terms of popularity, although FP is a much better golfer, but people don't. I don't know. Anyway, just something to think about. But then at the same time, how do you have a competition with those different people in? Because handicaps are going to be a bit dodgy, I guess.
It is. Handicaps are going to be a bit dodgy. And yeah, I wouldn't know. I think the only thing you could do is have a good ability golfer with maybe a less ability golfer and play like a bit of a scramble.
Yeah.
But then I don't think people wanted that. I think they wanted a 9-hole stroke play event.
Maybe once a year, like you said, have a battle who's the best player.
And then there was a bit of critique about the advertisement. There was a lot of advertisement.
I think that's easier for us to critique because we're not used to it in the UK as much. I think in the US it's just like by the by, innit?
I just found that I think for the very first one, did it need a title sponsor? They could have just let it run and just
people get sick of adverts. But on that note, this episode is brought to you by Ben & Jerry's. Please use the code RICK15, 15% off your cookie dough.
If I get a lifetime supply of Ben & Jerry's, I'll be a happy man.
Should we do a little clubhouse special?
Should we?
A little straight into it and then we'll release it on Friday.
Why not?
See you then.